Good afternoon. This is the control room here in Toronto, where viewers in Canada will see our world this afternoon. It's one of 45 control rooms around the world, linking the world, or the developed world, in this first global television program. I have with me in the control room here Professor Marshall McLuhan, the so-called prophet of this electronic communications age. I hope you don't object to that word prophet. You must be tired of it.
I'm quite helpless.
I don't know if you know what's going on around here, Professor McLuhan. I don't.
It's a real humming, buzzing confusion.
Can you say what message the medium has around the world this afternoon?
Well, I can say right off, for example, that everyone will look at this program as if it were something they had already seen before, with just a little addition of this or that. Because that is the inevitable way in which we look at everything. It's the same old thing with a little item or two added. This, in fact, what is happening today around the world is what has happened at Expo. A huge mosaic has been created, which is in effect a kind of X-ray of world cultures. Not a storyline, not a perspective, not a point of view, but a kind of X-ray through this mosaic is created in which everybody can participate. Everybody is surprised at Expo at how deeply they appreciate and participate in the show. Nobody seems to realize why it is so unlike other world fairs. And I think this show this afternoon will have some unexpected repercussions in that way. People will be drawn into it as participants, whereas they're merely viewing themselves as spectators at the moment.
Doesn't this, though, while it's creating an entirely new intellectual climate, spiritual climate, for those who can communicate, doesn't it present another problem, though, of dividing those who can from those who can't?
Well, what is called, for example, a generation gap today. The TV generation of kids have a completely different set of perceptions from their parents. The parents grew up in a visual world, the world of, in effect, of movies, where they had cameras and pictures and points of view. The kids have grown up in an X-ray world. The TV camera does a perpetual job of X-ray on them, and they take this for granted. X-ray means depth. X-ray means participation in depth in whatever they're doing, and calls for a totally new kind of commitment to everything they're doing. That's why, when they encounter situations in which they are merely classified entities, as in the schoolroom, they don't feel wanted, they don't feel needed, they just drop out. Now, this strange new all-at-once situation in which everybody experiences everything all at once creates this kind of X-ray mosaic of involvement and participation for which people are just not prepared. They have lived through centuries of detachment, of non-involvement. Suddenly they're involved. So it's a big surprise. And for many people, a kind of exhilaration. Wonderful.
But there are people in the world, the majority, who don't live in this new, involved society, and they're still in the age of the camel.
You think they're trying to live in the rearview mirror. They're still desperately trying to get an image of themselves in a situation that is familiar and known. Whereas in actual fact, the situation they find themselves in is not well known. It's utterly surprising and terrifying. The people have always, in all ages, Stan, have always been terrified of the present. The only people who seem to have enough gumption or nerve to look right at what's happening under their noses are artists. They're specialists in sensory life, and they just deliberately look at the present, you know, as if they dared it to ruin or do something to them. They're like Perseus and the Gorgon. The artist looks into the mirror of art and says, the heck with the Gorgon's image, I'm not terrified. But most people simply expect, when they look at the present, to be turned to stone, as by the Gorgon's countenance. And they're terrified. Therefore, they prefer the rearview mirror. Nearly everybody who looks ahead, as it were, is in effect looking in the rearview mirror. And if people try to prophesy about today's show, they will be steadfastly looking in the rearview mirror.
But we are, nevertheless, as you have said, those of us who participate in this new society, this electric society, it is a new sense of awareness and involvement. But my question is this: the majority of the world's people, and our satellites are going around the world today, are completely out of it. The cameras don't reach them. They don't hear the message.
They're not watching the show at all.
And they are. They're not in the rearview mirror. They're in the past. Centuries. And
No.
isn't that gap widening as our rocket-like society goes forward?
You see, something like Expo, though, creates a mosaic of all those societies as well as all the latest ones. And everything happens at the same moment. You can be in Beirut or in Tokyo or in New York at the same moment in this kind of mosaic world of all-at-onceness. And so, in effect, the backward countries have to become contemporary simply because of this instantaneous quality of the mosaic.